We do not raise men that way in this culture. Men learn that they can use and exploit women. And I'm sorry, girlfriend, you deserve better than that every moment of every day. And so we teach girls to have expectation about what they actually want. So we don't just call sex sex. We say there's a difference between good sex and bad sex, good touch, bad touch, right? You get to decide. And if you're with somebody who is not listening, they don't deserve you.
Welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast, where fitness, mindset, and real talk collide. This isn't just about workouts. It's about transforming your body, mind, and life. Get ready for unfiltered conversations, expert advice, and the motivation you need to level up in every way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast. I am Melissa Vogel, your host. Welcome to the show. If you are brand new, oh my God, you fell on a really good episode. And if you're returning, welcome back. Also, if you're returning, you are going to recognize today's guest because this is part 2 of an amazing conversation that is going to rock your world, change your life, and do all of the things. It's still really different for me to be saying the Bomb Life Podcast. So if you've been here before and you haven't been here in a few episodes, we are the Bomb Life Podcast, previously known as the Bomb Mom Podcast. Lots of changes. I love it. I love how many doors it has opened for us. And it's so crazy to come out of my mouth like that. As always, we have really cool swag. So check out the show notes. I always want you guys to go to the show notes, look at the links. We'll put a link in there for today's episode to our Busy to Bomb swag store, where you can also find swag for this podcast. You guys, the logo for this podcast is it's so perfect. Absolutely perfect. Also, with this being a brand new time of year, I love this time of year. It's fresh. It's new. It's like, all right, let's go. Let's freaking go. And it changes you on the inside. It really does. It just brings out a different you when we have more sunshine and time outside and the birds are singing and it's like, okay, I'm ready to get my ass in gear. Yeah, this is a good time of year. So if you're looking to make some changes, you want some help with it, as always, you guys go to the links in the show notes. You can book a call with me if you want to do a discovery call. You can send me a DM on Instagram. It's Melissa Vogel. We'll put the link to my website in here alongside of the links to today's guests and her books and her website and email and everything. But I always want you guys to remember you have a way to reach out and contact me through social media. You can send me an email at itsmelissavogel@gmail.com. Anyway, reach out. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to answer questions, but I have 2 main ways that you can work with me. One is through our main program, Busy to Bomb, and it is a group type setting where you're working with me and other people, and it's amazing for accountability and motivation, and it'll rock your freaking world. Everything today in this episode is just going to rock your world. And then the other way is through our Fit Mind coaching program. That's one-on-one. That is where we are best friends. And I'm in your life every single day, whether you want me to be or not. And it's full on accountability, workouts, everything. And we're creating changes, like deep rooted changes forever. So always go to the show notes, check it out. I'm here to help. And then you're always going to find the guests' information in the show notes as well. Last thing I want to say before we dive into this guest is rate and review this podcast. Now, when we did switches, we had to change our platform, and changing platforms can be scary because you lose all of your downloads. No joke. We went from one platform, not going to say any names, to another one. And the platform is basically the server that like pushes it out. So if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or like whatever, that server pushed it out to you, and we changed. Yeah, it was very, very scary, but we did it. We changed. Now more than ever, those rates and reviews will be super important. So 5 stars if you feel it's appropriate. Please write us a review. If you're like, you know what, I'm listening and I've never written her one, please do it. It does a lot of good things for the show, and I'm all about changing more lives, and we got to get our show out there even more. I'm thrilled with what we have been able to do and accomplish, and I want more. I want to keep growing and reaching more and more people. So today we have Dr. Tina Schirmer-Sellers back, who is a licensed sex and gender feminist psychotherapist. She's a best-selling author, researcher, professor, media personality, and her expertise spans over sex therapy, sexual intimacy, parenting, medicine, social justice. Like, oh my God, this woman's incredible. We had her on episode 257. So if you didn't hear the first one, oh my God, go listen to the first one. It's mind-blowing. We had so many responses from that episode. I was like, can you come back? Because we have more to talk about. So she did. We came back. This is part 2, and we dive in more to, God, I don't even know how to describe it. We talk definitely more about kids and sexuality and how to address that and stuff, which is super helpful no matter what religion you are, what your parenting style is. Tina's just amazing how she lays that out. The other parts that we talked about was how much our sexual relationships, our intimacy, our self-love, how we view ourselves really affects you into adulthood. It's an amazing conversation. It'll open your eyes and ears to so much, and I want that for all of you. So with all that being said, check the show notes, get her book. We talk a lot about books in this one. One of them is her book, Sex, God, and the Conservative Church, Erasing Shame from the Sexual Intimacy. And then her latest book is Shameless Parenting, everything you need to raise shame-free, confident kids and heal your shame too. It's like a bestseller in 8 different categories. No joke. So when we say like get the book and read it to help yourself, do it, because you guys, after you listen to this episode, you're going to go, oh my God, I didn't realize how much that impacted who I am today, the woman I am today, what I'm doing today. So I want you guys to keep growing and changing and having discussions about this and have your just mind blown from this, and to help you raise kids and help you have conversations with them. All right, everyone, enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life podcast. Today we have Dr. Tina Sellers returning to the show. Welcome back, Dr. Tina.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back.
I am so happy to have you back. We had such a good response with the first episode that you were on. We had people writing in and sending emails and sending DMs, and they were like, that episode was so good. Like, we just got it over and over and over again. So anyone listening, Dr. Tina and I had to just look it up. It's episode 257, and it's called Pillow Talk Unfiltered. So if you missed that one, go back and listen to that one as well. And it doesn't matter what order you listen to either, because I know this one's just going to be equally as amazing. But I mean, we really dove into like the history of abstinence and sex in religion. And I can't believe how much that resonated with people. Like,
yeah.
And
most people don't realize that they're estimating as much as every 1 in 5 people, at least 20% of the population, has been or are currently deconstructing the messages, the authoritarian messages they got from their families, either around religion and sexuality, or just from their public schools, because we were teaching abstinence education beginning in 1980 and onward. It just grew. We did billions and billions of dollars. So it's really affected a whole swath of people across the US. So I hear this stuff all the time. Yeah,
all the time. And that's a good thing. I'm so glad that people are waking up and learning. Funny story. Do you remember the show Glee? Do you that musical high school show?
Sure.
So I'm watching that right now with my kids because they're old enough, and they have some sexual stuff. Do you remember in the beginning how the cheerleaders, the Cheerios, were in what did they call it? An abstinent group?
Oh, I don't remember that, but that makes sense.
I had forgotten too. And we just watched the episode the other day and I'm like, oh, I'm having Dr. Tina on. I gotta bring this up. And the head cheerleader is like the president of is it like the chastity group or something like that?
Probably, right.
And then she gets pregnant. And my girls were like, what's abstinence mean? And I'm like, oh shit, is this a good or a bad thing?
And it's such it's a really great thing to break apart, to talk about.
Yes.
And if they're enough into high school, fresh 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, they're somewhere in that range. And if you were to say something like, well, there were whole groups of people, families across the US and still in many, many places in the US, the only information they would give you on sexuality is don't. And if you do, it will ruin your life. and ruin your future. And if it was a religious home, also ruin your relationship with God. And how well do you think it works to tell teenagers don't?
Exactly.
I mean, your kids are going to say it doesn't work. And you're like, right, which is why we in our family give you lots of information so you are equipped to make your own very good decisions that protect you and allow you to live the life that you really want to live.
Right.
But this was not the case for a long, long time. And we even taught it in our public schools. We just told kids don't. And then we showed them scary, scary movies, but didn't give them any education about how to keep yourself safe and how to know what exploitation is and how to know what pleasure is and how to know what you want. All of that. We didn't do it. And we called that abstinence or abstinence education. And your kids will be like, what?
Right. And sex ed. We call that that's our sex education right there.
Yeah, exactly. So you say to your kids, so where do you think kids got their sex education if we weren't giving it to them? They'll have an answer for that too.
Oh yeah. Porn. I can't
porn
tell
and
you.
their friends.
Yeah. Porn and their friends got it from probably watching porn too. Or their older sibling that they learned things from or whatever. And they got it from porn or something appropriate. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with men, just like, at dinners with friends or with a boyfriend or whatever. And their first sexual experience happened back in the day when they Googled something inappropriate on the internet, like kitty. And that was their first experience to sex and learning what anything was.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was just the other day I now can't even remember what it was, but it was Googling something fairly benign. But of course, I was probably having some conversation around sexuality or sexual health or something. And then I think I was on talking to somebody on the phone or something. And I said, well, you can't Google that phrase. Because I didn't get any information. I just got links to porn. And it was really innocuous, like whatever.
I'm surprised you're not kicked off social media yet or something, or red flag.
Well, I've been flagged. I mean, I have been shadow banned for sure, and I have, lots of colleagues who are sexual health professionals, who teach sexuality, who work with couples and individuals around sexual health and stuff, and who have, Instagram accounts. And we all talk together like we can't get sex ed out there. Like it's very difficult to get sex education out to the public because if you're trying to do it on any social media platform, because they flag it. And I used to run intimacy retreats for couples, and those would get flagged. I'm like, I'm actually trying to do helpful things for people's lives. And no, they shadow banned it.
Right. And after our episode and hearing the response, and I never thought of this either, people were shocked, and people don't step back and take a look at how deep this goes and affects someone's life for the rest of their life in other areas.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was taught and told as a teenager, how much that would impact me with my worthiness, feeling enoughness, issues in my relationship, in my marriage, in other ways other than just in the bedroom and in the bed, that
Oh, yeah.
It affected so deep. And just being told no and don't and avoid, and then having to flip the switch later. And this was such an eye-opening episode for so many people, and even this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, and this is, of course, we don't teach. If we don't teach this stuff, then kids don't learn it and adults don't learn it either. But when I bring my whole being, my body, mind, emotions, when I bring all of me, my heart, into a sexual experience, then if I don't feel good about my body, I don't feel good about my worthiness. So I don't believe you could really love me if you knew exactly who I was. So I bring a mask, to you. And that is going to affect how much I'm able to take in your love and care for me.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be undoing it back here, in the background, right? Yeah, sure. Right. Really. Well, you just rolled your eyes that way. So you must think, I'm undoing it everywhere. And that is a crime because we deserve to soak in as much love and as much joy and pleasure and celebration, because those are the sweet things of life.
Right.
Right. And we don't want to go to our deathbed and having nixed that in our mind, heart, whatever, body, and sabotaged ourselves and those relationships. But so many people inadvertently do. It's heartbreaking to me, which is why I think I became so passionate about it.
Right.
I wanted something so much different for people,
Right. Yeah. I can completely relate to that. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about health and fitness and connecting the mind to it and all of that, because I'm like, God, you're missing out on life. And you feel that way about like sex
Yes.
and everything and education and relationships. And I feel you, girl. Like, I'm the same way. I'm like, no, everyone deserves to feel this good. Everyone
Yes.
deserves to have a body that functions this way.
Yes.
And I love bridging the gaps too, and like bringing it all together, that your sexual
Absolutely.
health. Like when you said that, I felt like a lump in my throat, like these are like the sweet parts of life.
Yeah.
And God, Dr. Tina, I know so many women, and it's all long-term relationships that I can think of in my head right now. Married for years, kids are like
Right.
older teens, off to college, whatever.
Yeah.
And the sex has just stopped.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You want to hear something else too? I just was told yesterday. Oh, that's crazy. I was just told yesterday by an adult that their child told them that their grandma told this child, me and your grandpa haven't kissed in 5 years. And that child told the parent. And then the parent told me. And I'm like, oh my God.
Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
And this parent was like, and that's your role model. Like that's like what's influencing you right now. Like, one, the grandma, God bless her, but she probably should have never said that to the child. She has no clue what she's doing,
Right.
printing on her brain.
Yes. Yeah. But it also provides an incredible learning opportunity for the parent to say, well, let's talk about that. When you see people kissing, what does that make you think about what they're feeling toward each other? Kid's going to have a response to that. Well, I think that they love each other and it's kind of sweet and it kind of makes me feel good. Right. And so grandma and grandpa are losing that. But I want you to notice that so-and-so and I, your partner, whatever,
right.
We hold hands, we kiss each other, and we even go on dates and leave you behind because we see our relationship as that important. And we want you to have that model of what it is to share love and joy with somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want for you someday. So it's a great teaching moment.
That's such a good point.
Yeah. Great teaching moment. I had one of those moments too. I taught grad school. I taught marriage and family therapy, medical family therapy, sex therapy for almost 30 years. And we would have these small groups once a week where we would talk through cases. So there'd only be 6 of them and me. I remember one time, and the group really gets to know each other really well. Somebody said, I don't remember. My parents came to all my games. They went to my parent-teacher conferences. I don't remember ever seeing them express affection with each other. And then a bunch of them were like, yeah, no, I don't see that either. They're parents together. And I said, by not seeing the marriage, seeing that function, it undermines your belief that you can have it. And they're like, yeah, it's true.
Wow.
Right. And then I had one person say, well, I went home to visit and I surprised them. And I came home really, really late at night. I flew in really late and walked in the door and there were clothes all down the hallway. And I turned around and left and went to my grandma's and they came back in the morning. And I said, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you know that your parents are still having fun together.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, it kind of made me feel really good. And I said, I'm just glad because these are those contrasts. Kids need to see marriages in order to feel like I can have a love like that. Right. In order to believe in love. One of the things we've seen since the hookup culture is this real drop in believing that they can have a sustaining love relationship.
You've got my wheels spinning right now because I'm just thinking of myself and like what I witnessed as a child of what like a love looked like with my parents and the lack of and just like the weirdness around it. And I'm sitting there going, that totally impacted who I picked as a partner and what I believed. And one of my repetitive questions throughout my marriage, which led to the divorce, was like, do you even love me? Do you even love me? And then at one point, I'm like, God, I shouldn't be asking this, but it was it was a good day if there was hand holding and
Uh-huh.
my daughters were growing up and seeing that. And
Yeah.
and here's a crazy thing too. After got divorced, my kids are a little bit older. I started dating someone else who loved me very much. And there
Uh-huh.
was a lot of affection and handholding. And he would call me pet names like
Mm-hmm.
baby or babe or sweetheart or honey, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And my ex never called me that. And one day we were in the car and we were driving and he held my hand and he called me like babe or baby or something. And my middle one goes, ew, that's so gross. They'd never heard that. And I've never been
Right.
called it. And my oldest was like, huh. She's like, I want someone to call me babe when I'm in a relationship one day. And I just sat there and I didn't know if my heart was breaking or feeling good because I
Right.
was like, holy shit. Like
Mhm.
kids didn't even see the level of intimacy of a pet name.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm like, I need
Yeah.
to clean this shit up.
But what great learning. I mean, all of that is just really great learning. You noticing that it feels really good. Your
Mhm.
kids kind of going, wait a minute, I would like that, but that also feels weird. I mean, just like it's
Right.
all of that is learning in a time when they're forming their opinions about what they want for themselves. It's
Yes.
great. I mean, it's really, really great. And you can say, yeah, I realize I missed that. I didn't have that in my relationship with your dad. And now I look back and it's kind of sad for me.
Right.
But boy, learning what you like and what you want on this side when you are your guys' age
Yeah.
is such a good thing. You'll probably do it better than me. And that's great.
Yes, that's the whole goal, right? Is there
Yeah, right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we got a question that came in over and over and over again. Same question, just different way. And people want to know, like, how do I even teach my kids about sex and healthy sex?
Right.
Because I can remember being out in the boat. My youngest was probably like I don't know. I was talking with moms and our children were probably in kindergarten ish, like a young age. And the mom had revealed to me just in conversation, and she had said, she's like, oh, we don't talk about that stuff with our daughter. And I'm like, what do you mean? They didn't talk about inappropriate touch. They don't talk about anything like that. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, really? I'm like, you don't tell her or like, if someone touched her, to let you know. And she's like, no, oh my God, no one would do that, first of all. And, we don't want her talking or anything about her private parts and putting thoughts like that in her head. And I had so much to say, I had to say nothing because I was like, oh no, stranger danger and inappropriate touch. Like that's been a conversation like frequent and like all the time and consistent in my
Yeah.
home with my kids. And I was just
Yeah.
mind blown that they were like, no, oh my God, we don't talk about any of that. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's an extreme, you know,
Sure.
and then
Sure.
there's people out there and they just kept asking, like this one woman said, I want to teach my kids about sexual or healthy sexuality. She's like, but I have no clue where to start. And our
No.
episode
Yes.
257, she's like, that got my mind really thinking. And she said her
Yeah.
kids are like 9, 10, and 12. And she's like, what's the best
Oh.
way to have these conversations without making it awkward? So they're
Right,
right on
right.
the brink of like,
They're on the brink. So let me just say, because of this question, because after I wrote the first book, Sex, God, and the Conservative Church, Erasing Shame from Sexual Intimacy, this was the question I got the most after people had read that book.
I bet.
Like, okay, I know what I don't want to do. I now know why it all happened and its impact on me and how to heal and all that. It's all great, but I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I got you. And that's why I wrote the second book, which is Shameless Parenting, Everything You Need to Raise Shame-Free, Confident Kids and Heal Your Shame Too. That book is written like a workbook. It's for busy parents. I mean, I know how it is. We have 4 that are grown up now, but it's birth to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, all the way up to 18. And in each section, it says, here's what the emotional tasks are that kids of this age are trying to do. Okay. Here's the behavioral tasks they're trying to do, typically, right? Yeah. Just typical child development stuff. Here's the sexual and body curiosities that are likely to emerge at this age. And then I ask questions like, how might it be for you when your year-old finds their genitals, or your 5-year-old walks in on you, or blah, 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 blah. And then I say, if you can feel the part of you go, like you don't know what to do, I want you to just put your hand on your heart and say, I have that feeling because the person who was there for me didn't know what to do with me and I got shame. I didn't make the shame happen.
Ooh.
It happened because somebody got scared by my curiosity and scared me with their fear. Right. And so that translated to must be something wrong with me. Nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful and wonderful exactly as you are, like any child, any human, really, and then I go on to say, here's what they need from you. Here are the top child books you can go get at the library.
Okay.
Here's the top adult books just to teach you like more language about things. Please know that you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have a 2-year-old and have to have it figured out at 18. Okay. You just need to be 2 years ahead of your kid. So if you've got 9, 10, and 12-year-olds, read the book. And I'm often saying to people, go get the little kid books. Literally get the little kid books because they're fun to read. And also what most people don't know is quote unquote sex education, if you will, from birth to 8 or so is so much about social emotional learning. So you're learning about boundaries. You're learning about my body, your body, body autonomy, learning about asking. You're learning about what doesn't feel good. What kind of touch hurts? What kind of touch feels funny? What kind of touch feels good? You're learning what a good friend is. You're learning how to be a good friend. You're learning how to do conflict in this sort of a basic kind of way, how to get help, who's a trusted adult when you need help, someone to help you. So all the foundational stuff in every relationship is learned in those first 8 years. And so a lot of the books are books that teach that stuff too. And like with 2-year-olds, you're labeling the world, right? That's a tree, that's a cat, that's a dog, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? You're also, when they find their genitals, you're like, yeah, that's your vulva. It is a fabulous part of you. Now let's finish diapering you or the bath or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's your penis. It's a great part of you. It's wonderful. And then you just go on. You're labeling because that's what you do for 2-year-olds, right? And you're not giving them any more than that because they can't take in more than that. Mm-hmm. And so even when the 6-year-old comes home and says, what's sex? Or I heard the word fuck. I don't know what that means, mm-hmm. or whatever. They don't want the whole thing. You're like, wow, fabulous question. What is it about that question that you feel most curious about? Because I want to give you just what you want and not too much. And so you try to find out from them what they're really wanting and you give them just that, right? So I say to people, go get that book. Yeah. And read it. Go get the books at the library. Say to your kids, I'm learning things right now that I wish I knew when you were a little younger. We're going to all learn together because I get to heal too, because things weren't always done around this topic for me in the way I wanted it to too. You just let it be okay. Right. You're not apologizing. You're just saying we're all learning because that's what you do. I mean, you're going to learn things when your kids are 25 that you wish you knew when they were 5. And you're going to say, you're not going to believe what I learned. You know what I mean? It's just about opening a conversation and saying, we're all doing the best we can. And that's what we get to do, and be graceful and compassionate and loving with each other as you're learning. Yeah. So it's all in that book. It is. I totally wrote it to hold people's hands so that they would know what to do. And then here's the best part. When you do that, then kids have a completely different download than you got. And so if they go on to have children later, you're going to see that they are going to struggle so much less than you. Right. Because their default is different because you did this work with them. So yay, good for you.
Yeah. I love how I feel this sense of relief of it's okay to talk about it. You're not going to screw them up. And I think that's probably a lot of fear of people is if I talk about it, then I'm going to lead them down the path and then they're going to get curious and want to have sex. And I'm like, girl, they're already curious.
And it's important to debunk that. That's been around for a really long time. And you still hear politicians say that. They don't know a single blankety blank thing. Yep. Because let's apply that to any other area. Okay. Going to be a driving a car when they're 16, 17, something like that. I'm not going to talk about the fun of it. I'm not going to talk about speed. I'm not going to be talking about how they work. I'm not talking about it at all. And when they hit 16, I'm going to hand them keys.
Yes.
Is that protective parenting?
Right.
No. You're talking about it all the time. You're talking about speed limits. You're talking about stopping. You're talking about turning. You're talking about you slowing down so people cross the street. You're talking about how you keep her safe and put your seatbelts on. And you're talking about it all the time in developmentally appropriate ways, because that's the download. So when they get 15 and they can get their permit, you've already downloaded a whole bunch of stuff. And now you're going to talk about the actual mechanics.
Right.
This is no different. So where and who did it serve? The idea that we are not going to tell them anything and we're going to expect them to know what exploitation is. We're going to expect them to know how to take care of themselves. We're going to expect them to know what they like and don't like. No, it makes absolutely no sense. We have data that shows that kids who get this kind of developmental sex education get involved with sex later than others, make safer sexual choices, choose people that are kinder, more loving, and respectful, lower STI rates, lower teen pregnancy rates, and therefore it's also affecting lower abortion rates. They know how to protect themselves, right? And they describe having better sex lives as adults.
Wow.
Right? And my favorite part of the research actually is that adolescents whose parents have been involved in this education, those kids describe themselves as closer to their parents overall.
I believe that.
Yep.
I totally believe that. And I love that we have like data. Like I love data. Data and research behind this.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to share a little personal stuff, not personal, but like I'm going to share what I've been doing. And I need you to tell me if I'm doing it right or wrong.
Okay.
And this is how I like sharing my life and like what I do, because I feel like it helps other people. And if you're here listening to this episode, like we're tight, we're good. Like, I'm here to help you and you're here for help. So that's good. So I have teens, that are like older and starting to leave the nest and stuff. And I'm not stupid, like I know what kids are doing at that age. I was that age, but I was also, taught, no, bad. You're going to have a promise ring. I did, girl. Did I tell you that? I can't remember if I said that.
I think you did. Yeah.
Oh, the blue stone and like the 4 hearts on the side. And I wore it on my wedding ring. Oh my God. Like, anyways, but I have been kind of taking the approach of like openly talking about sex and saying like, I know this is what is in your thoughts and your heads, and the boys are going to talk to you because I only have girls. So I only have the girl perspective. I only have to worry about what's going in them and not where they're putting theirs everywhere else.
Yes, right.
I'm such a dork. I'm so mature when I talk about it. But I'm trying to take the approach of like, let's have a conversation about it. Sometimes they're like, ew, mom, stop. But I'm like, look, I don't want you to think that it's a bad thing. And I'm very clear about that. This is not a bad thing. And I'm not going to tell you to not do it. And I'm trying to give guidance around saying it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Right.
And there is no such thing as like 100% birth control either. Things can fail. There's, birth control, condoms, all of it. And I just want you to know, and I'm really trying not to, I don't want to use scare tactics. That's not my motive or intention.
Right.
But I'm just like, there's a lot of responsibility with your feelings, your emotions, and physically when you go into a sexual relationship and you start doing that. And I tell him, I want you to talk to me. I want you to ask me questions. And we talk about things like that. And I'm not going to lie, there's a little fear in my head still, probably from my old programming that like, am I screwing them up? Am I making them more curious? Isn't it crazy? We know that it's
No, it's not crazy. That's real. Yeah, it's very real. You're not alone.
But that's how I'm trying to do it. And I don't know how I would navigate having a boy. I don't know if I would be different. But with my girls, I'm just like, be proud of your body, be respectful of your body, And I'm trying to tell them too, like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say yes if that's how you feel. But I just want it to be a conversation that like you can always come to me and talk to me. And I don't want you to think that it's something that like mom doesn't want me to do. I'm like, no, there's just a lot of responsibility that comes with it in conversations.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
What should I add? What should I change?
So no, you're doing a great job. So I will throw out a couple of things. Really, honestly. And I know you're changing a legacy. And anytime
girl,
a
yeah.
parent is changing a legacy, it is super hard work because you're going down a path no one took you down. It's very hard work. So I want you to see that, yes, this takes strength and courage and it feels vulnerable and you're doing a beautiful job. So I'm just going to add some things to that. That's all, just to support you. It's a really good book that came out just a few years ago. It actually came out of a mom blog. It's called Ejaculate Responsibly.
Oh my God.
It's 28 reasons why, if we wanted to stop unwanted pregnancy tomorrow, we could. There's only one thing we need to do.
Okay.
Every single penis that is going to go inside a vagina needs a condom on it, or they need to have had a vasectomy that they can reverse later.
Okay.
Why? Men know when they're fertile. Women do not. You can have penetrative intercourse on day 1 and start your period on day 5, or ovulate on day 5 and still get pregnant because a sperm can stay alive inside your body that long.
Right.
Women can't know. Their contraception is over the counter and they can get it at any grocery store and they don't have to see a doctor. Girls have to see a doctor and they have to pay a lot of money, right? It is absolutely asinine. It is part of misogyny that we put this on women and not on men. We could stop it tomorrow. And so you have to teach that to the girls and you have to do some different teaching to boys. And boys, you have to teach them about power. Like they can use if it's about them, then they're not caring for somebody else. That women and girls are not there for their usage and pleasure and exploitation, or humiliation, even though that's what they will see on straight porn. They start doing that with a girl that has some sense of boundaries or some sense of value of herself. She's going to tell him to F off. I deserve better than this dude. Get away from me. Because that's how she's going to be taught different.
Yes.
Right? Sweetie, what do you want? What is touch? How do you know somebody really cares about you? What kind of touch is pleasurable to you? When do you think you'll feel old enough to say to somebody, I'm not into this, or I'm not into you, or I don't want to do it this way, or how come you don't hold my hand anymore? I really liked all the fiddling around we did before we started doing this. Now we don't do that anymore. How will you know if a person is really listening and caring about you? Like we're teaching her the nuances of it.
Yeah.
If she's straight, this is especially important. We're teaching her sex is not just penetration. Good sex is anytime you are sharing pleasure and connection with someone you care about.
Oh,
you can just be holding hands.
I love that.
You can be, but you get to decide what it is like every single time. And if he is not saying to you, sweetie, what are you into? Or what do you want today? Or what would feel good to you? He doesn't deserve you.
Oh.
Yeah. Boom. Like, because you are a goddess. You are my daughter. You are a goddess and you deserve to be treated that way. And we do not raise men that way in this culture. Men learn that they can use and exploit women. And I'm sorry, girlfriend, you deserve better than that every moment of every day. And so we teach girls to have expectation about what they actually want. So we don't just call sex sex. We say there's a difference between good sex and bad sex, good touch, bad touch, right? You get to decide. And if you're with somebody who is not listening, they don't deserve you. And I realize that's a lot to say because it's hard to stand up for yourself, but that's part of where the responsibility comes in. If you start doing things that you can't get out of, or it feels hard to get out of, then it's probably just an indicator that you're doing them too soon.
Yes.
Right? I start the Shameless Parenting book with a story of a family that I knew who had kids, and I'd been helping them learn how to do sex ed with their kiddos and stuff. And they called and left a message and said, we've just found out our 14-year-old is sexual. And we feel like, because they grew up similarly to you, like we should just wrap up our house and move out of state. And I'm like, hang on, let's take a deep breath. And I just help them walk through it. And I tell the whole story at the beginning of the book. But since we didn't get raised with it, we don't have all those questions and stuff inside of us. But we want to be able to be like, okay, so you made that decision. That's fine. But let's just talk about why now? Why with this person?
Yep.
How's it going? If they start treating you in some way you don't want, do you feel like you can say no? Do you feel like you can get out of it? Right. And if they started to feel like, I mean, can you trust? How do you know that this person isn't going to like start sharing it in social media?
Right.
If they did, what would you need? What would you, I mean, just like you help them walk through the questions that are in that big bubble of responsibility in their world, right? And I've got all kinds of, when I get to the 16 to 18 section and 14 to 16 of that section, I've got some really good books for teenagers and young adults. And those are ones I recommend parents read too.
Okay.
Because a lot of parents need to get with the program of what kids are actually facing now. Because it's not exactly what they faced.
Nope.
And so I'm like, read these books because this is the world that your kid is living in right now. And it's really important that we get ahead of them and we're not always chasing behind them.
Right.
Does that kind of give you just a little bit?
Yes. And I love that story and I want to read the whole story too. But I love like that opportunity, how you turned it into of like, okay, not freaking out, have conversations with them and how it turned into like this beautiful conversation of now learning more about your child, but also letting your child know like, hey, I'm here, I know, and let's dive into this together. What a great.
Exactly. Yeah. And that kid, it was the sweetest story because they got back to me a few days later. They grounded themselves. They got kind of clear together. And then a couple days later, they took her out of school a little bit early. So the other kiddos, the other siblings weren't around. And they just had a really just loving conversation with her, right?
Good.
She ends up crawling in her dad's lap and just saying, I don't feel ready for this and I need your help to get out of it.
Oh, my heart. Oh.
Yeah. And so they were just all there with her. I mean, supported her around, no problem. And this is part of learning. And you'll get clearer about what you do want when you want it. And, we learned this stuff really late in life because we got so little from the grandma and grandpa, kind of a thing. And it turned out to be a beautiful thing. And I remember just getting little stories as she grew up and went on to college. It was a beautiful learning opportunity and they did a brilliant job. And they were so grateful to just have somebody hold their hand. And I'm like, I got you. I want you to have different experiences. And I know the fear that you're describing. It's real.
Yeah, because many of us, not me, but I'm just going to say us, when our parents found out, they rushed to the football game, grabbed us, picked us up, shouted us in the car the whole way home. We were grounded for having sex for 3 months, and like that's how we started off our sexual.
Exactly. And that was not helpful because it just drives kids further underground where they're alone to solve these problems all by themselves. It's just, we're just filled with epigenetics, so generation upon generation of silence and shame. And it can be so different. And, I don't know if I said this in the first episode, but part of the reason that this hit me so hard when I started to realize what had been going on was because I got to grow up in a Swedish immigrant home. And so the epigenetics of my family is sex positivity, body positivity, a lot of education. And you talk about sexuality and bodies and relationships like you talk about recipes all the time. I could talk to both grandparents, all my aunts and uncles. And so I knew what it was like to just see this as another part of life that you can make really nourishing for you. And sometimes you have to work a little, as relationships are older and you're having to work on things, it's an ongoing conversation, but we can have that another time. But
I love that. I love it. I love how you just said that conversation, that part of life can just be very nurturing for you. It's like talking to your kids about food, sports. It can just be something natural. Oh, Dr. Tina, this was amazing. I am so grateful that you came back on again. This is exactly the conversation that I wanted to have. Like everything. It was absolutely perfect. Where can people find you? But we'll put everything in the show notes, but give us your social media, your book, your website, all of it.
Right. So I'm on Instagram at Dr. Tina Shameless. So DRTINA Shameless. You can find my books on Amazon. But for those of you out there that are boycotting Amazon, because our family is, you can take the title of the book, just take a snapshot of it, take it to your local bookstore and ask them to order it for you. And they will do that for you. I just want to give people options out there. And that's probably my website is my name, tinashermersellers.com. I have free downloads there that you can do it's kind of a cheat sheet on kids development. There's what I call the sexual reclamation project, where I run you through a bunch of questions. If you want to look at how did my past affect me, there's a bunch of things there you can download for free. And feel free to DM me if you have questions. And I also often say to people, if you start book group or, and you end up reading one of the books or both of the books. And I'm happy if I can arrange it to just pop in on the last meeting and just answer questions and talk to you guys.
That would be
Done that for
amazing.
lots of people, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, you are just such a gift and such a blessing. Like, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and coming back on here twice. Like, I'm getting DMs, so if I get any, I'm just going to forward them to you too. I'm like, hey, I'm not Dr. Tina. We're going to pass this on, but I'm happy to be that vessel too. But thank you again for coming on. And I can't wait to keep working with you and keep learning more and keep reading and educating other people. So thank you again, Dr.
Wonderful.
Tina.
Yes. Thank you so much. So it's great.
Everyone stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time. The Bomb Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.